What if I told you that every time you pay attention to something, you're not just noticing it, you're actually influencing it? Not with magic, not with wishful thinking, but with one of the most mysterious and consistently proven phenomena in quantum physics, the observer effect. The idea is simple on the surface, yet deeply unsettling when you really grasp it. In the quantum world, particles, the building blocks of everything you see, don't exist in a fixed state until they're observed. Until consciousness enters the equation, reality remains a cloud of possibilities, a superposition, multiple outcomes existing at once. But the moment attention is placed, the wave collapses. One version of reality solidifies. One path becomes real while all others vanish. And here's the twist most people miss. This doesn't just happen in a laboratory with subatomic particles. It happens in your daily life, in your relationships, in your finances, in your sense of identity. Because attention is not neutral. Attention is power. It's the flashlight of consciousness. And whatever you shine it on, with emotion, with focus, with belief, begins to take shape. This is why people who constantly worry seem to manifest more problems. Why those who dwell on lack experience more scarcity. And why those who can see opportunity even in chaos often find it. The quantum field is not judging you. It's not punishing or rewarding you. It's responding to what you're observing most consistently. It doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you attend to, energetically, emotionally, and imaginatively. Let's go back for a moment to the now famous double-slit experiment. Physicists shot electrons through a barrier with two slits, trying to determine how these particles would behave. When no one observed the experiment, the electrons acted like a wave, going through both slits simultaneously, creating an interference pattern. But when someone observed the path of the particles, they behaved like matter, going through just one slit like little marbles. Just the act of observing changed their behavior. The observer altered the outcome. Now, imagine for a second that this isn't just about electrons, but about the waves of possibility in your own life. The countless potential outcomes swirling around you. The wealth you could create. The healing you could experience. The relationships you could attract. What if your attention is what determines which of those potentials become solid and which ones dissolve? This isn't metaphor. This is physics. But more importantly, it's a mirror. Because your life, right now, is showing you exactly what you've been observing. Not what you said you wanted. Not what you think you deserve. But what you've been energetically tuned into, day after day. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to expect the worst, and somehow it keeps happening? And how others expect miracles, and somehow life keeps rising to meet them? It's not luck. It's not delusion. It's the observer effect, operating through human consciousness. What you focus on repeatedly, with emotion, you begin to entangle with. In quantum physics, entanglement means two particles become linked, no matter how far apart they are. Observing one affects the other instantly. Now imagine that your attention entangles you with a version of reality, a timeline, a set of circumstances. Every time you think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, replay the same mental movies, you're entangling with that outcome. This is why attention isn't just passive. It's creative. It builds the architecture of your experience. And here's where things get even stranger. Your subconscious is observing too. Even if consciously you're trying to manifest abundance, your subconscious may still be observing lack. Remembering childhood scarcity. Holding ancestral trauma. Carrying quiet beliefs like, I always have to struggle, or money never stays. And the universe? It responds to that deeper signal. That consistent observation behind the scenes. This is why surface-level manifestation doesn't always work. Because your deeper attention, the kind wired through years of emotional experience, is collapsing a very different wave. So the question becomes, how do you shift what you're observing? How do you become the kind of observer who changes the outcome? We'll explore that in the next part. But first, pause and reflect. What has your attention been most of the time? Not just what you think about, but what you feel into, what you emotionally rehearse in your mind. Because the reality you're living is not random. It's the result of what you've been unconsciously choosing to observe. And that means you're not just a character in this story. You're the one shaping the plot. You're the observer. And the outcome is still unwritten. So let's go deeper. If attention shapes reality, then changing your reality isn't just about action. It's about changing the observer, you. The quality of your attention, the emotional tone behind it, and what you consistently focus on, all of it silently writes the code of your life. Here's where most people get stuck. They try to change their results without changing their observation habits. They say affirmations, they hustle harder, they visualize. But underneath, their attention keeps circling the same frequency. They still feel stuck. They still expect resistance. They still scan for danger, for proof that it's not working, for signs they're being left behind. And like a quantum mirror, the field responds accordingly. Why? Because the subconscious doesn't speak in words. It speaks in vibration, and vibration follows attention. Let's make this real with an example. Imagine two people walk into a room full of strangers. One is scanning for rejection. Do I look okay? Are they judging me? Am I enough? Their attention is tuned into fear, comparison, lack. The other is scanning for connection. Who looks interesting? Who's smiling? Who do I feel drawn to? Their attention is tuned into curiosity, openness, abundance. Now, same room, same people, same environment, but their experiences? Entirely different, because what they observe determines what they receive. We do this every day. We collapse one version of reality instead of another, just by where we place our focus. So how do you start shifting your point of observation? It begins with inner awareness. The most powerful observers are not those who control everything, but those who see clearly. Step 1. Notice your dominant attention patterns. What do you rehearse emotionally? Do you wake up already scanning for problems? Do you assume the best or brace for the worst? Are you constantly checking what's missing or grateful for what's emerging? This isn't spiritual fluff. It's energetic calibration. You are conditioning your quantum field through repetition. Every recurring thought is like a lens. It filters what becomes visible to you. Step 2. Shift from problem to potential. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing which version of reality you collapse into form. If your finances are low, do you only observe the lack? Or do you notice the skills you have, the opportunities starting to show, the one idea that excites you? Most people are trained to observe problems because that's how we survived. But we're no longer just surviving. We're evolving, and that means observing from a higher state. Now here's the deeper piece. You don't just shift reality by thinking differently. You do it by feeling differently, because emotion is what anchors the attention. A passing thought is like light, fast, transient, but a feeling is like gravity. It pulls you into alignment with a certain timeline. This is why trauma and old beliefs have such strong pull. They make you feel the same emotions over and over, regret, fear, unworthiness, and keep your attention locked into the past. But here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you become aware that you're observing from a place of fear, you've already started to break the loop. You've become a conscious observer, not a reactive one. And that's where the shift begins. Let's say your mind is obsessing about a lack of money. Instead of pushing it away or forcing a positive thought, you witness it. You breathe into it. You ask, what am I really observing right now? What story am I collapsing into my field? Then, and this is key, you redirect your attention, not by force, but by choosing a new emotional anchor. What would it feel like to observe possibility? To sense something working behind the scenes, even if you can't see it yet? To feel for just one moment like you're aligned with abundance, not chasing it? That emotional state becomes the new observer. And with repetition, it becomes your new default signal to the field. Remember, the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you're tuned into, energetically, consistently, emotionally. And here's where this gets life-changing. When you shift your attention, you don't just change your perspective. You change your timeline. You collapse different outcomes. You activate different people, opportunities, insights. Not through force, but through resonance. Because in a universe where everything is frequency, you don't attract what you chase. You attract what you observe as real. That's the core of the observer effect in your life. And most people never realize they've been observing from inherited beliefs, from childhood wounds, from fear-based programming that was never theirs to begin with. But when you change the lens, you change the signal. And when you change the signal, you change everything. In part 3, we'll explore how to rewire your subconscious observations, release inherited mental habits, and become a master of energetic attention. Because once you learn to observe differently, reality begins to obey. So here's the big question. If your attention creates your reality, how do you reclaim it from the subconscious patterns that keep repeating the same story? Because let's be honest, most of your attention isn't even yours. It was shaped before you were conscious enough to choose. Your nervous system was trained in childhood. Your emotional defaults, fear, scarcity, shame, self-doubt, didn't come from nowhere. They were downloaded like subconscious software running quietly in the background. And the danger is, you begin to think it's you. You mistake the inherited story for the truth. But it's not the truth. It's a script. And the observer who follows that script collapses the same reality over and over again. So the real work of manifestation isn't just imagining a better life. It's observing yourself clearly enough to change the source code. Let's start with something practical. Take a moment. Close your eyes, unless you're driving, and ask yourself, what do I consistently expect? When it comes to money, do I expect it to flow or disappear? When it comes to love, do I expect to be met or abandoned? When it comes to my purpose, do I expect to succeed or fall short? Don't judge the answers. Just notice. That expectation is your energetic observer. It's the version of you that's placing attention, whether you realize it or not. And here's the truth. You don't have to fight those patterns. You just have to stop identifying with them. Because attention is like light through a lens. And if the lens is dirty with old beliefs, distorted memories, ancestral pain, then the light becomes distorted too. But the light itself? Still pure, still whole, still capable of illuminating something new. So how do you clean the lens? One of the most effective ways is through emotional witnessing. Instead of reacting to fear or lack, you observe it, you give it space, you allow it to express without merging with it. This simple act does something powerful. It untangles your identity from your emotion, and suddenly you realize you are not the fear. You are the observer of the fear, which means you can choose a different focus. That's the first step toward energetic sovereignty. The next step, anchor your attention into a new emotional baseline, not through force, not through fake positivity, but through repetition of emotional states that match the life you want. This is where daily practices come in, not as rituals of control, but as rituals of resonance. Visualization, gratitude, stillness, creative imagination, breathwork. They all work by shifting your attention before reality gives you a reason. That's the secret. You don't wait for life to change so you can feel different. You feel different first, and life responds. Might sound backwards, but in the quantum model, it's perfectly aligned. The field is not waiting for your circumstances to improve. It's waiting for your observation to change. Because the moment you begin observing from abundance instead of lack, from joy instead of resistance, from trust instead of control, you signal a different set of possibilities to collapse. You activate a version of yourself that already exists in the quantum, and your life begins to move toward it, effortlessly, elegantly, sometimes even miraculously. Now let's bring it all together. You are the observer. You are the lens. You are the signal. And every moment you have a choice. Will you collapse a future based on fear? Or will you choose to observe from the version of you that's already free? Not someday. No, because time is not the barrier. Attention is. And when you reclaim that, you reclaim your life. So as we close this journey, I'll leave you with one gentle challenge. Right now in the comments, write, I choose to observe from power. Let that be your anchor. Let that be your shift. And if this resonated with you, if something clicked open even just a little, subscribe to the channel. We go deep here. We explore what most people overlook. We decode reality at the root. So if you're ready to step into that kind of awareness, welcome. You've found your frequency. Now go observe your life differently and watch what changes.